Hi. Shortly after this crazy situation that we're in began, I received an email from a friend in which it was kind of a chain email. Someone had suggested that we share with one another poetry that has helped us or may help us or may encourage people in difficult times. My literature professors at the University of Dallas, the late, great Ray DiLorenzo and Mel Bradford, and the wonderful Jane Gibson Brown, would probably never have expected me to be giving talks over the internet, which didn't exist then, about poetry of all things. But nevertheless, I don't suppose they will be disabused of their notion that I'm not really suited to be a poetry scholar. But I chose something that's 90 pages long, Gilbert Keith Chesterton's poem, The Ballad of the White Horse. I'm not going to read it in its entirety for you. You can do that on your own if you wish, but I want to say a few things about it. The Ballad of the White Horse. The white horse is an ancient, a prehistoric horse scoured into a hillside with crushed chalk in England, so it's a white horse, that needs to be regularly scoured and cleaned, otherwise it no longer sort of shows its primitive beauty and its whiteness. It's 110 meters long, and you can learn what I've just learned about it from checking Wikipedia. G.K. Chesterton used this as a symbol for King Alfred the Great, whom he was writing, about whom he wrote the poem. King Alfred had suffered from, he was King of Wessex, he had suffered from the Danes and their great king Guthrum, and most of England was no longer in English hands, as it were, but being controlled by the Danish invaders. And he fights against them as a man sort of without hope. One of the things that inspired me about this long years ago, that made this a kind of favorite poem of mine for difficult times, was a book by Christopher Derrick entitled Joy Without a Cause. It was a book of essays, and that was the title of one of the essays, and the phrase comes from this poem, The Ballad of the White Horse. It comes at a scene when Our Lady asks King Alfred if he has joy without a cause, yea, faith without a hope. So it's a kind of the white horse itself and Alfred's struggle is a kind of very Chestertonian theme of Christian paradox, that Christians are kind of accustomed to defeat. After all, they believe in a God who died, but who rose again. And this is perhaps appropriate for this Easter season. This is Holy Saturday as I'm recording this, that out of death, out of defeat, comes victory. And for a real Christian believer, though, the defeat, the death is real. The death of Christ is real, the defeat is real, and Alfred's situation was one of very, very bleak situation indeed at the time the poem begins. Alfred has been totally defeated by Guthrum. He has retreated to the little island of Athelney, and there's a wonderful little phrase, a little stanza or two there. There was no English armor left, nor any English thing, when Alfred came to Athelney to be an English king. Alfred finds a small picture of Our Lady left from something that his mother had given him, and he prays to her. He prays to Our Lady, and she appears to him. He asks her, can you tell me, are we going to get out of this? Are we going to win? And he says, I won't ask you anything about the secrets of heaven. That's not my business, but perhaps you can tell me this. He says as follows. I'm not going to find his poem. Mother of God, the wanderer said, I am but a common king, nor will I ask what saints may ask to see a secret thing. The gates of heaven are fearful gates, worse than the gates of hell. Not I would break the splendors barred, or seek to know the thing they guard, which is too good to tell. But for this earth most pitiful, this little land I know, if that which is forever is, or if our hearts should break with bliss, seeing the stranger go. When our last bow is broken, Queen, and our last javelin cast, under some sad green evening sky, holding a ruined cross on high, under warm westland grass to lie, shall we come home at last? And Mary's voice comes to give him an answer. However, it's precisely the opposite of the answer he seeks. The gates of heaven are lightly locked. We do not guard our gain. The heaviest hind may easily come silently and suddenly upon me in a lane. And any little maid that walks in good thoughts apart may break the guard of the three kings and see the dear and dreadful things I hid within my heart. The secrets of heaven are open, but not the secrets of what may happen on earth. The gates of heaven are lightly locked. We do not guard our gold. Men may uproot where worlds begin, or read the name of the nameless sin, but if he fail or if he win, to no good man is told. And then she gives him this phrase from which Christopher Derrick took the title of his essay and his book. Now, the word not comes in here. If I were an Englishman, I might be able to pronounce this in the way that it ought to be pronounced, but it's N-A-U-G-H-T, not N-O-T. I tell you not for your comfort, yea, not for your desire, save that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Night shall be thrice night over thee, and heaven an iron cope. Do you have joy without a cause? Yea, faith without a hope? And that was the last Alfred heard from Our Lady. And that joy without a cause, that faith without a hope, he has no hope, and yet he goes on. That leads him to go seeking for Christian men to fight with him against the pagan Dane. Then, as he goes to gather his soldiers, and Chesterton invents three: an Englishman, an Italian, a Roman, a descendant of the ancient Roman conquerors of Britain, and an Irishman. And each one more or less tells him, you always tell us we're going to win, and we never do. And I'm not going to come and fight for you again, because it's always a lie. And Alfred doesn't tell them that they're going to win. Here, the first one, the English soldier Egbert. He's a great man who was just kind of retired away to his farm and wants to be left alone. Come not to me, King Alfred, save always for the ale. Why should my harmless hands be slain because the chiefs cry once again, as in all fights, that we shall gain, and in all fights we fail? Alfred doesn't get angry at this answer, and doesn't say, we're going to win. And Alfred answered, drinking and gravely without blame, nor bear I boast of scald or king, the thing I bear is a lesser thing, but comes in a better name. Out of the mouth of the Mother of God, more than the doors of doom, I call the muster of Wessex men, from grassy hamlet or ditch or den, to break and be broken, God knows when, but I have seen for whom. Out of the mouth of the Mother of God, like a little word come I, for I go gathering Christian men from sunken paving and ford and fen, to die in a battle God knows when, by God, but I know why. And this is the word of Mary, the word of the world's desire. No more of comfort shall ye get, save that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Then silence sank, and slowly arose the sea-land lord. Like some vast beast for mystery, he filled the room and porch and sky, and from a cobwebbed nail on high unhooked his heavy sword. So Alfred gathers his first helper, and each one that he comes to find, he gives the same message from Our Lady. The sky grows darker yet, the sea rises higher. To the Italian Mark, he says, I am that oft defeated king whose failure fills the land, who fled before the Danes of old, who chaffered with the Danes with gold, who now upon the Wessex wold hardly has feet to stand. But out of the mouth of the Mother of God I have seen the truth like fire, this, that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Mark joins him. Then he goes to find the Irishman, Colin. Colin is not a fan of Alfred either. Alfred comes to him and says, I am Alfred of Wessex, and I am a conquered king. And the man of the cave made answer, and his eyes were stars of scorn. And better kings were conquered, or ever your sires were born. What goddess was your mother? What fay your breed begot? That you should not die with Uther and Arthur and Lancelot. But when you win, you brag and blow, and when you lose, you rail. Army of Eastland yokels, not strong enough to fail. I bring not boast or railing, spake Alfred, not in ire. I bring of Our Lady a lesson set, this, that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Then Colin of the sacred tree tossed his black mane on high, and cried as rigidly he rose, and if the sea and sky be foes, we will tame the sea and sky. Before the battle begins, before the Danes are really aware that the English are going to make one last attempt to drive them away, Alfred goes without weapon into the Danish camp. He goes as a minstrel, disguised, carrying simply a harp. And he comes to a campfire of the Danish king Guthrum with two of his assistants. He sings songs, they sing songs. The Danish pagan songs are songs of death, destruction, battle. And for Guthrum himself, his last song is more or less that that's all there is for us in this life, to kill, eventually to be killed, but to perhaps have some kind of satisfaction in taking part in this destruction and death. Alfred takes back the harp in anger, and he gives a Christian response to this pagan fatalism of Guthrum. He heaved the head of the harp on high and swept the framework barred, and his stroke had all the rattle and spark of horses flying hard. When God put man in a garden, he girt him with a sword, and sent him forth a free knight, that might betray his Lord. He brake him, and betrayed him, and fast and far he fell, till you and I may stretch our necks and burn our beards in hell. But though I lie on the floor of the world with the 7 sins for rods, I would rather fall with Adam than rise with all your gods. What have the strong gods given? Where have the glad gods led, when Guthrum sits on a hero's throne, and asks if he is dead? Sirs, I am but a nameless man, a rhymester without home. Yet since I come out of the Wessex clay and carry the cross of Rome, I will even answer the mighty earl that asked of Wessex men why they be meek and monkish folk, and bow to the white lord's broken yoke. What sign have we save blood and smoke? Here is my answer then, that on you is fallen the shadow, and not upon the name. That though we scatter and though we fly, and you hang over us like the sky, you are more tired of victory than we are tired of shame. That though you hunt the Christian man like a hare on the hillside, the hare has still more heart to run than you have heart to ride. That though all lances split on you, all swords be heaved in vain, we have more lust again to lose than you to win again. Your Lord sits high in the saddle, a broken-hearted king, but our King Alfred, lost from fame, fallen among foes or bonds of shame, in I know not what mean trade or name, has still some song to sing. Our monks go robed in rain and snow, but the heart of flame therein, but you go clothed in feasts and flames when all is ice within. And don't forget about the white horse. The white horse has not been properly kept by the Danes. Alfred sees this as a symbol of their failure as a people. Ere the sad gods that made your gods saw their sad sunrise pass, the white horse of the white horse vale that you have left to darken and fail was cut out of the grass. Therefore your end is on you and your kings. Not for a fire in Ely fen, not that your gods are 9 or 10, but because it is only Christian men guard even heathen things. For our God hath blessed creation, calling it good. I know what spirit with whom you blindly band hath blessed destruction with his hand. Yet by God's death the stars shall stand and the small apples grow. And the king with harp on shoulder stood up and ceased his song. And the owls moaned from the mighty trees, and the Danes laughed loud and long. You can read the rest of the Ballad of the White Horse to find out who laughed last.